Alright guys, it's Monday again and another week of work, so let me try and start the week off with some more news. Now today I've got a few things to talk about, like how gear sets and group synergy are a primary focus for the major overhaul, more details on the exotic Vector, how shotguns are going to be addressed, Dark Zone news and more. So with that said, let's begin. Okay, so first up, let's talk about episode 3 and its release date. On Wednesday's stream, the devs confirmed that episode 3 will be released in February, but they couldn't offer an exact date. Whether that's because they're still working on it and didn't want to give an exact date, to avoid any disappointment if it's pushed back, or they just simply didn't want to say, I don't know. Now, following State of the Game, I've received this tweet which observes the following. The legacy caches are available for another 4 weeks, 5 days and 6 hours. This brings us to February 10th, a Monday. Who's betting with me that episode 3 will be released on February 11th? And I've got to admit, this is a very good observation. I never considered going to look at the cache and then deciding from there where episode 3 might fit in, but it's actually pretty spot on, I reckon. I think it certainly shortens the window. At the moment we know it's February, but I think it'll probably be either February 11th or quite possibly February 18th, the week after. For right now I'm just probably going to guess February 11th because that's the sooner the better for me. But it could be February 18th, it could be the week after that. We're not going to know until, I imagine, January 29th, State of the Game, which is when they're going to be focusing more on episode 3. So that's when we'll get confirmation. But I suspect February 11th, February 18th, it's going to be one of those days. Next up, let's talk about the new exotic weapons. So from the small clip played during Wednesday's State of the Game, I actually put images of it in my recap because I didn't want to put the full video for copyright purposes or whatever, so I just put images on there. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. I think most people would agree though that the weapon looked like the Vector SMG, which turns out is 50% correct. It is a Vector, as confirmed by Frederick Thylander on Twitter, and just by looking at the weapon, but it's not an SMG. Now when asked the question about the weapon, Frederick said this: the new exotic is a .308 caliber assault rifle, and that it's fictional. He went on to say, we collaborated with Chris to make a fictional .308 fully automatic assault rifle. I believe Chris is the model, the make of the actual Vector, I believe. I'm not totally up on my weapons, to be completely honest, guys. I'm from England. Got no idea. I've only ever shot one weapon before, and that was in my stag when I shot an AK-47, and that was pretty awesome. But yeah, from the UK, don't know a whole lot about weapons. So to me, that's very interesting, and it's certainly not something that I thought was going to happen. When I saw the pictures, I was like, Vector SMG exotic, right? I think everyone thought the same thing, but actually, it's going to be an assault rifle. And another thing to consider about this exotic is potentially a new mechanic within the game, and this is pretty exciting, guys, and that's thermal. Okay, now on screen, you're going to see a concept design from Lars Sowig. Probably butchered that name. If you search their concept designs for the Division 2 on Google, they've pretty much done concept designs for everything, for loads of games, including loads of Division 2 stuff. Now the weapon here appears to be almost an exact match to the new exotic, so I'm going to presume this concept design is for the new exotic weapon, and you'll see on the weapon a thermal display. Now this concept design was put to the devs, and they've pretty much confirmed it's coming. In fact, Bruce responded to Tyler on Twitter saying, you guys should re-record with your agent moving so it shows the camouflage colour change happening in real time, open bracket, and show off the thermal cam attachment, close bracket. Now I think this pretty much confirms this is coming, which is gonna be awesome. And what do you guys think about having thermal in the game? I guess at this moment in time we have no idea, what unique talent's actually going to come with a weapon or not, or whether it's just a colour change in assault rifle. We don't know for sure if it's going to have thermal or it's just some sort of gimmick, but I think this pretty much confirms it. And I've got to admit, I'm just excited at the prospect of another exotic to chase, but if we've got thermal, that's going to be awesome. Okay, moving on, and let's talk about gear sets and group synergy, because a lot of the revamp is primarily focusing on this aspect of the core experience. Frederick said on Twitter, again, because Frederick is the man, he's commenting with everyone on Twitter. If you want to know stuff, go to Frederick. And this whole video is pretty much about Frederick because he is the man. Anyway, Frederick said, oh, I absolutely agree, which is why, spoilers, gear sets are part of the big upcoming revamp. He went on to say, group synergies are a huge focus of the update. Now, to me, this is absolutely amazing news to hear, and it really shows a positive direction for where they're going. The Division had a real sense of group play with gear sets that made those roles viable. For example, Reclaimer and Final Measure, those were great group support gear sets, and there was loads of that stuff where you could have that sense of a role within the game. There's none of that in the current game. If you guys can name to me like a couple of gear sets that have that create roles in the game, then let me know. But as of right now, there really isn't any roles in the Division 2, and it's really lacking in that department. Frederick did further go on to confirm that with this overhaul, you are going to have to sacrifice health and armor for DPS. You will have to sacrifice health and DPS for a support build, and so on and so forth. Now, this could be a big change that brings a lot of people back, especially because the second raid is built around supporting roles. This is the main reason why the second raid has been delayed, is because of the overhaul. I've got a sneaky suspicion that the second raid is pretty much done at this point, but it's built around having supporting roles, and it's built around the RPG overhaul, which is why they're going to wait for the overhaul to come out, give it a little bit of time to grow, a little bit of balance and stuff, and then the raid is going to launch. And that makes sense. I wouldn't want them to bring out a raid right now, and then in a month or two, they update the whole RPG stuff, so it doesn't really make sense. The raid doesn't make sense with the new gear changes. That's kind of backwards. So that's probably why. But it's good to hear that we're going to be getting group stuff back, group synergy and roles, because they are so missing in this game, it's unbelievable. Next up, and let's talk about my favourite subject, the Dark Zone, because I think what Frederick has confirmed recently is very, very good news for the future of this mode, and for anyone who enjoys how the Dark Zone was in the Division. The question was asked, you've said that DZ is going to be more dangerous, more scary, and more PvP based, so I fear that it will become a pain for PvE players to farm in the DZ after the revamp. I surely know that DZ isn't a proper place for PvE players, but we have to go there for better gears. To which Frederick responded, thankfully, you don't have to go there. There's plenty of gear available for any and all PvE challenges to be had without ever stepping foot into the Dark Zone. But if you absolutely have your heart set on min-maxing something that happens to drop in the DZ, sure, be ready to throw down. And I think this is the perfect response to a statement that I just cannot get behind. I don't want to throw shade or anything at this person because, people play games differently. Everyone has their own opinions. But to me, the thought of having the Dark Zone cater more towards PvE is the exact reason why the Dark Zone became so bad. The game only has two PvP modes, Conflict and kind of the Dark Zone. There are countless... Everything else in the game is built for PvE. Okay, so there are countless PvE activities that you can farm for gear. You've got a raid with a unique exotic weapon tied to it, the Eagle Bear, which is something PvP does not have. There is no unique exotic tied to the PvP experience. Now, if Frederick's response means they are moving the Dark Zone towards a more brutal, endgame PvP kind of experience, then I'm absolutely all for it. Right now, the Dark Zone, it's lost its soul. And that's mainly because it was, transformed to cater to PvE players. Even the most recent update to the Dark Zone added ambushes at extractions, PvE ambushes. And that to me just doesn't make any sense. It should be an endgame PvP activity that offers unique rewards not found anywhere else. And it works for Destiny absolutely fine. You want that piece of gear or that weapon? Well, you need to complete the raid, or you need to complete this insanely hard PvP quest step. No one moans about it in Destiny. Is it a community issue? I don't know, but it works in other games absolutely fine, and you can't cater to the casual player too much. You have to obviously give some stuff for the casual players, but you also can't cater just to one side. You have to cater to both PvE and PvP. So if what Frederick is saying here is that they're going to be bringing the soul back to one of the most beloved modes in the game for PvP players and make that brutal PvP experience, then I'm excited to see what's in store. Last but not least, shotguns. On Wednesday's State of the Game, the devs confirmed that shotguns will be adjusted in Episode 3, which will be coming in February. Now, it's been confirmed on Twitter now that shotguns will be receiving a reduction in damage to help rid the game of the current meta. Frederick said the reason for slow adjustments is that, we've been busy with a major revamp. With it out of the way, I expect to be more agile in response to balance needs again. So this does explain why the devs have taken so long to address the shotgun meta and all the other kind of balancing issues with the game. But I'm glad they are finally going to adjust shotguns. Now, it's not just shotguns, okay? It's not just that shotguns can 1 or 2 tap. It's all the other stuff that comes with it. It's the high armor, and it's it's all of that survivability stuff as well. And I do believe that this adjustment is kind of putting a band-aid on a much bigger issue with the shotgun meta, which is the whole build itself. But that whole build and the whole RPG stuff around that build is going to be addressed with the overhaul. So as of right now, I think that's what they're going to do is reduce that damage down, get rid of that meta, because I think this meta is about as cheesy as it gets. Don't get me wrong, a new meta is going to come up, but it can't quite be as bad as your shotgun meta. Being one tapped and two tapped, whatever, with insanely high armor is crazy. I mean, the insanely high armor is still going to be there until the new update, but just reducing that shotgun damage down significantly should mean that this meta will be incinerated pretty quickly, and then obviously once we have the RPG update and it's all kind of turned upside down, then they'll relook at shotguns and how they fit into the game. But just wanted to let you guys know what they're going to do with those shotguns. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching it until the end. Of course, Wednesday's State of the Game is going to be one of the biggest ones we've had for a very long time. Frederick's coming on. He's going to be talking about the RPG experience, the RPG overhaul, UI stuff, so really can't wait. If you want to make sure that you get the most up-to-date recap of that State of the Game, if you don't want to watch the full thing, then please make sure you turn notifications on, because I will have you covered, guys. No worries about that. With that said, thanks very much again for your support, and until the next one, Epic out.